The story begins with an idyllic vision of small-town life. Sunlight filters through the leaves of old oak trees, casting dappled shadows on neatly trimmed lawns. A gentle breeze carries the scent of freshly baked bread from the local bakery, mingling with the distant laughter of children playing in the park. The streets are lined with charming houses, each with a well-kept porch and flower boxes bursting with color. It's the kind of place that feels frozen in time, where everyone knows their neighbors, and nothing bad could ever happen. Our protagonist, perhaps a journalist researching a fluff piece on rural America, a detective on a forced vacation, or a newcomer hoping for a fresh start, drives into town, taking in the serene atmosphere. The townsfolk offer polite smiles and friendly waves, but there's something just beneath the surface, a hesitation in their eyes, as if they're performing a well-rehearsed play. Then, the first unsettling detail slips in. Maybe it's the way a shopkeeper's smile drops the second the protagonist turns away, or how a child's ball rolls into the street, but no one rushes to retrieve it, as if afraid to step too far from the sidewalk. A missing poster, slightly faded, hangs crookedly on a bulletin board, but when the protagonist looks closer, the date is from 20 years ago, yet the paper looks fresh. The local diner buzzes with quiet conversation, but the moment the protagonist enters, the room dips into a brief, unnatural silence before the chatter resumes, a little too loudly. The waitress is overly cheerful, her grin not quite reaching her eyes as she slides a slice of pie across the counter. "You're new here," she says, not as a question, but as a statement, one that carries an unspoken warning. As the protagonist walks back outside, the sun feels too bright, the shadows too sharp. A man is sweeping the sidewalk across the street, whistling a tune. Then, between one blink and the next, he's gone, vanished without a sound, the broom left leaning against the wall as if he had never been holding it at all. The protagonist turns to a passerby. "Did you see that?" The stranger doesn't even glance up. "See what?" And with that, the illusion of the peaceful town cracks, just enough for the protagonist to realize something is terribly, horrifyingly wrong. This opening establishes a contrast between the town's picturesque facade and the creeping dread beneath. The scene lulls the audience into a false sense of security before introducing subtle, unsettling anomalies. The disappearances happen in plain sight, making the horror more disturbing because the town chooses not to see them. The air is warm, the kind of afternoon where sunlight pools on the pavement like liquid gold. The protagonist, let's call them Alex, stands outside the town's quaint general store, chatting with Mrs. Harlow, the elderly shopkeeper. She's mid-sentence, her hands fluttering like sparrows as she recounts some local gossip, when Alex glances down to dig a coin out of their pocket for the bag of apples they've just bought. A shadow flickers at the edge of their vision. When Alex looks up, Mrs. Harlow is gone. Not gone as in stepped away, gone as if she had never been there at all. The bag of apples now sits neatly on the counter, no hand having placed it there. The bell above the door hasn't chimed. The street is silent, save for the distant hum of a lawnmower. Alex's breath catches. They whirl around, searching for her. Maybe she moved impossibly fast, maybe it's a trick of the light, but the sidewalk is empty. The store's interior, visible through the window, shows no sign of life. Then, footsteps. A man in a checkered shirt, Mr. Calloway, the butcher from down the street, ambles by, whistling. Alex grabs his arm. "Did you see Mrs. Harlow just now? She was here and then—" Mr. Calloway's face goes politely blank. "Mrs. Harlow?" He scratches his chin. "Oh, she retired years ago. Moved to Florida, I think." "No," Alex insists, voice rising. "She was right here, 30 seconds ago. You waved to her when you walked past." Mr. Calloway's smile doesn't waver, but his eyes darken, just for a second. You must be confused, friend. This store's been closed since old man Grady died. Nobody's worked here in ages. Alex stares at him, then back at the store. The lights are off. Dust coats the windows. The closed sign hangs crooked in the door. But they just walked out. They just spoke to her. And then, worst of all, Alex notices something that sends a sliver of ice down their spine. On the counter, inside the darkened store, the bag of apples is still there, slowly rotting, as if it had been sitting there for weeks. The bell above the general store door jingles as Alex steps inside, the sound too loud in the thick summer air. Mrs. Harlow looks up from behind the counter, her wrinkled face breaking into a smile that doesn't quite reach her milky eyes. "Didn't expect to see you back so soon," she says, her voice like dry leaves rustling. Her gnarled fingers continue wiping the same spot on the counter she's been polishing for the last 5 minutes. Alex frowns. "Back? I just got here." Mrs. Harlow's wiping stops. The rag in her hand drips something dark onto the wood. When Alex blinks, it's just water again. The old woman opens her mouth to respond when the lights flicker. Just once. Just enough to make the shadows in the corners of the store twitch like living things. When the fluorescent's steady, Mrs. Harlow is gone. Not vanished in a puff of smoke, not disappeared with a sound. It's worse than that. It's as if the world has simply edited her out. The stool she was perched on is now tucked neatly under the counter. The rag hangs dry on a hook by the sink. The ledger before her is blank. Alex's breath comes in short gasps as they stumble backward into the shelves. Cans of soup rattle like bones in a coffin. The bell jingles again, but no one enters. Through the fly-specked window, Alex sees Mr. Calloway walking by. They burst out the door, grabbing the butcher's meaty arm. "Mrs. Harlow, she was just inside, and then—" Mr. Calloway's cleaver pauses mid-swing. A bead of sweat rolls down his temple. "Now why would you go asking about her?" His voice drops to a whisper. "Poor woman walked into the woods 3 winters back. Never did find her." Alex turns back to the store. The windows are dark. The closed sign swings gently in a breeze that doesn't touch the trees. Through the glass, they can just make out the shape of something standing where Mrs. Harlow had been. Something too tall, its head cocked at an impossible angle. Then the lights go out for good. The air in the town archives is thick with the scent of yellowed paper and dust that hasn't been disturbed in decades. Alex runs a finger along the spines of leather-bound ledgers, their fingertips coming away gray. The librarian, a gaunt man with hollow cheeks and a too polite smile, had been reluctant to let them in, but a well-placed lie about genealogical research had cracked the door open just enough. "You won't find what you're looking for," the librarian had said. Not shouldn't. Won't. Alex pulls a crumbling newspaper from a stack, the headline screaming up at them in bold, faded ink. "Local woman missing. Search continues." The date is from 1983. The woman's face, blurred by time, still carries an unsettling resemblance to Mrs. Harlow. Then another paper. Then another. Boy vanishes on way home from school. Family of 4 disappear overnight. No trace found, say authorities. The dates span decades, but the articles all share the same eerie cadence. Initial panic, a brief investigation, and then nothing. No follow-ups. No closure. As if the town simply forgot. A floorboard creaks behind them. Alex whirls around, but the archives are empty. Except, no, not quite. On the desk, where there had been nothing before, now sits a single photograph, black and white, edges curled with age. It shows the town square, filled with people in old-fashioned dress. And there, in the center of the crowd, stands a figure, tall, thin, its face blurred, as if the camera refused to capture it properly. Alex's breath fogs in the suddenly frigid air. They flip the photo over, scrawled on the back in shaky handwriting. It takes them when we stop looking. Then, from somewhere deep in the stacks, a whisper. Not a voice, not quite, just the sound of something turning a page. The old church at the edge of town has stood for over a century, its steeple piercing the bruised twilight sky like a warning. The door groans as Alex pushes it open, the sound too loud in the suffocating quiet. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of damp wood and something older, something that smells like turned earth and copper. The pews are empty, but the altar is not. Scattered across it are photographs, dozens of them, each one marked with a name and date. Some are faded, their edges crumbling. Others look freshly developed. Alex's hands tremble as they pick one up. A smiling family, their faces familiar from missing posters. Another shows a child mid-laugh, frozen forever in black and white. Then they see it. In every photo, just barely visible in the background, is the same tall, thin shape. Sometimes lurking behind a tree, sometimes reflected in a window, always watching. A floorboard creaks behind them. The priest stands in the doorway, his silhouette stretched long and unnatural by the dying light. His eyes are hollow, his smile too wide. "You weren't supposed to come here," he says, his voice like dry paper. Alex steps back, their heel hitting something soft. They look down. A fresh photograph lies at their feet. In it, they're standing in the town square, and behind them, barely visible in the shadows, something is reaching out. They serve as physical proof of the entity's presence, its hunger documented in snapshots. His unnatural demeanor and knowing smile imply the town's leaders are complicit, perhaps even feeding it. The final photograph reveals Alex is already marked, turning the investigation into a race against time. This scene unveils the horror at the heart of the town. Not just an entity, but a cycle of sacrifice the residents have accepted. The real terror isn't that people disappear. It's that someone lets it happen. Want to make it worse? I can imply the priest is the entity, his human form just another mask. Or show Alex's own face beginning to blur in the photos, their fate already sealed. The streetlights flicker as Alex runs, their breath ragged in their throat. The town doesn't look the same anymore. The houses loom like crooked teeth, windows dark despite the hour. The air is too still, too quiet. No crickets, no wind, just the sound of their own heartbeat pounding in their ears. They shouldn't have asked so many questions. The photographs in their bag feel heavier than they should, shifting unnaturally against their hip. The faces in them, those missing, those forgotten, seem to press against the paper, whispering things Alex can almost hear. Then the footsteps, not behind them, not in front, beside. Alex turns their head just enough to see. There, in the reflection of a storefront window, something walks in step with them. Tall, thin, its limbs too long, its face a smudge of shadow where features should be. It doesn't look at them, not yet, but it knows they see it. A hand grabs their arm. Alex jerks away, nearly stumbling, only to find old Mr. Calloway standing there, his grip like iron. His eyes are wide, frantic. "You need to leave," he hisses. "Now, before it realizes you know." But it's too late. Behind Mr. Calloway, the streetlights go out one by one, plunging the road into darkness. The butcher's face twists in something like pity before he shoves Alex forward, not to help them escape, to give it a head start. Alex doesn't look back. They don't need to. They can feel it now, the way the air thickens, the way the shadows stretch, just a little too far. The town watches in silence as they run, its people peering through curtains, their faces blank, No one will help. No one ever does. And then, a whisper, right against their ear. You were always one of us. The entity's presence. It's no longer hiding, but walking openly in reflections, toying with Alex before the hunt truly begins. Even those who seem to help are part of the cycle, sacrificing outsiders to keep themselves safe. The realization that Alex might have always been part of the town's curse twists the knife deeper. This isn't just about escaping. It's about realizing you were never meant to leave. Want to make it even more hopeless? I can have Alex's reflection start moving on its own, or show their face in one of the missing photographs, proof they were never really there to begin with. The road out of town stretches endlessly before Alex, asphalt shimmering under a sickly yellow moon. Their car radio crackles with static. No matter how far they drive, the needle never finds a station. The rearview mirror shows only darkness, but sometimes, in the periphery, something moves. Too tall. Too still. Then, the sign. Welcome to Blackwater, population 1. 1203. Alex slams the brakes. The same weathered wood, the same peeling paint, the same damn town they just left behind. They whirl around, heart hammering, but the passenger seat isn't empty anymore. Mrs. Harlow sits there, knitting needles clicking softly. Her milky eyes don't look up as she says, "Told you we don't take kindly to snoops, dear." The car door locks click shut. Outside, figures emerge from the shadows. Mr. Calloway, the librarian, the priest. Their faces are blank, waiting. Alex's hands tremble on the wheel. The rearview mirror catches movement in the back seat. Something leans forward. Its breath is cold as it whispers, "You'll make a fine addition." The headlights flicker, and when they steady, the car is parked outside the general store. The bell jingles as Alex steps inside. Behind the counter, their own reflection smiles back. The loop reveals the town doesn't just take people, it replaces them, rewriting their memories until they become part of the facade. Alex's reflection becoming autonomous implies their transformation has already begun. The entity isn't just feeding, it's curating, preserving the town in perpetual decay. The true horror isn't vanishing. It's becoming exactly what you feared. Want to amplify the dread? I can show the next outsider already driving into town, their face bright with ignorance, as Alex, now behind the counter, reaches for a familiar rotting apple. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.